Foraker, the wife of one of his home state rivals, U.S. Senator Joseph B. Foraker. He more than met the usual criteria. McKinley was among the 16 U.S. presidents of 43 elected to or serving 2 terms. He was among the 13 of these who, unlike Grant, Nixon, and Clinton, avoided major scandal or impeachment. Of the post-Civil War dynasty of 7 Ohio-born presidents from Grant to Harding, his preeminence is obvious. McKinley's was the administration during which the United States made its diplomatic and military debut as a world power. He was one of the 8 presidents who, either in the White House or on the battlefield, stood as principals in successful wars, and he was among the 6 or 7 to take office in what became recognized as a major realignment of the U.S. party system. No other Republican nominee could have made of the 1896 election what McKinley did, and no other Republican would have had the stature and self-assuredness to take Theodore Roosevelt as his ticket mate in 1900. Superficially, meeting all these criteria puts the Ohioan in the rare company of Washington, Jackson, Lincoln, and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yet hardly anyone thinks of him that way. The recent consensus of historians has pegged him somewhere in the ho-hum midsection of presidential ratings, and small wonder. Too many dismissive paragraphs, thoughtless sentences, and inaccurate descriptions still nurture the false public impression of a cultural and intellectual mediocrity, however popular, who toadied to business as a puppet of Wall Street. Biographers like Lewis Gould, H. Wayne Thompson, and Margaret Leach have had the matter largely right. That too many of their colleagues have indeed had it largely wrong. There was a time, back in trolley car days, when McKinley was much better regarded, certainly into the 1920s and in some chronicles later. More than 50 years ago, I saved my pennies as a boy to buy mint U.S. postage stamps of the presidential series of 1937, then in everyday use. A child's history lesson in itself, this set began with the green 1-cent Washington, the red 2-cent Adams, and the purple 3-cent Jefferson, ascending through the 10-cent Tyler and 16-cent Lincoln to the 25-cent McKinley, perfectly matching the order in which the chief executives had served. There was no 24-cent stamp because Grover Cleveland, whose 2 terms were separated by 4 years of Benjamin Harrison, was both the 22nd and the 24th president. Number 25, McKinley, was notable in my 10-year-old eyes for marking the end of historical exactitude and transition to modernity. The presidents of the new century who had already died were not treated as history. Number 26, Theodore Roosevelt, was assigned to the 30-cent stamp. William Howard Taft, number 27, had his jowly visage imprinted on the 50-cent stamp, and so on through Woodrow Wilson, $1, Warren Harding, $2, and Calvin Coolidge, $5. I never bought the Harding or Coolidge stamps because both were accounted lightweights. Besides, the Harding stamp cost 8 Saturday movies, and Coolidge's 20. From this series, McKinley became a bridge president to me, a transition executive between another century's remoteness and the current one's immediacy. The old 1925-ish histories one could buy along New York City's Book Row in 1951 for 10 or 25 cents spoke well of him, but not at much length. The greater decline in McKinley's stature came as the 1932 to 1968 New Deal Democratic era and its dismissal of business, tariffs, and gold standards swept the day. During the 50s, my interest in our nation's chief executives shifted from portraits on postage stamps into a new and more serious channel, charting and mapping the county level, district level, and state level voting patterns of U.S. presidential elections. The crumbling, browned pages of old election data available in the run of dime-each world almanacs did not go back past 1916, but McKinley soon became well known to me because of his victory in 1896. He was the political architect who ended the 2-decade national stalemate existing since 1876, turning a weakened Civil War coalition to a new, full-fledged industrial GOP majority, 1896 to 1932. That made him the most important 19th century Republican after Lincoln. By 1960, my maps and charts had convinced me that another realignment was in sight to end the old Civil War division of U.S. politics, displace the New Deal alignment, and give the GOP a new